Studio Galaxy 473, and we are operating from Confero. And this is the second part of our program. Our number to call is 410 And we always encourage you to share our program and subscribe. We are the new kid on the block. And the second part of our program, we concentrate on politics. And today we have Master Carl with me in the studio, and we are the Galaxy Equalizers. Ignore the signs and signals at your own peril. We believe that one of the challenges that we have in Grenada is people constantly saying, if I knew. The signs and signals are there. When you ignore them at your own peril. Master Carl is like a child. Somebody have a child growing up, a young man growing up in the house. And the parent seems to not understand that this child is heading for trouble in the wrong direction. The neighbors are complaining, but instead the parents are defending the child. If you ignore the signs and signals, you are doing it on your own peril. The same goes for politics. People get involved in politics, and you have a time to interact and study them. You have a time to study your political party. The political parties sell themselves. That's why they come to you and have meetings. That's why they speak to you. That's why you, even if they don't open the closet door, you say things about them. This man thief a pig. When he was young, he thief a pig. Somebody say, well, he young, it's a little mistake. No. When he was in school, he thief too. So you see a pattern in that individual. Nothing is wrong in individual making mistakes. All of us fall short of the glory of God. But today in Grenada, we have a prime minister, Deacon Mitchell, a new kid on the block. He came in 2 years ago. And the question is, did we ignore the signs and signals that was given out? And that's why the topic is massacre. Ignore the signs and signals at your own peril. This must be a challenge for all of us.
It is indeed a challenge, and thanks for having me on. It is indeed a challenge. If one remembers, the only qualifying aspect of the Prime Minister when he was introduced to the Grenadian public was he had deep pockets and connections. And he started to make some promises which we all knew then was simply promises. It was the impossibility of those promises was more than 50-50. And we ignored the signs because we took it as a laughter, we took it as a joke, we took it in jest. And we responded by saying, pie in the sky. So we took it for granted. Seriously, Mr. Pierre. And it has come to haunt all of us now.
We never heard from any politician in the Caribbean. No politician in the Caribbean sold themselves to people as having deep pockets and contacts. No, maybe drugmen, perhaps that might be a good sales point for people who are involved in the underworld and in drugs and etc., cartels and etc. We have money and we have contacts. But in the Caribbean, no country in the Caribbean, no leader in the Caribbean before sold themselves as having deep pockets and contact. I always see that Grenadians are very mature politically because, as George Brizan wrote, island of conflict. And we have also recognized when we meet stable, positive political parties and they work with them, unlike other Caribbean islands where you might have a party going for 2 term, next one for 2 term. In St. Lucia, over the last 20 years, no political party has made more than 1 term. In Pakistan, it's very difficult for a party to make 4 years.
Yeah.
But in Grenada, we seem to have accepted Deacon Mitchell selling himself as having deep pockets and contact. When we find out with our brothers on the ground what they understand that to mean, they say, well, he must be a rich man and all the lawyers support him. I guess they believe because he's a lawyer, when you see contact, the legal fraternity was behind him. But he has sold himself as having deep pockets. Then the prime minister was very disrespectful when he practically encouraged the crowd to use some very objectionable language in the public. That should be a point when people start to raise their eyebrow. But that didn't seem the case. Because we have no evidence of any other politician practically inciting the crowd to use obscenities. There was a case where an individual was on the platform and there was a false name they used to call him. And somebody was on the side provoking him. So he tried to move the mic from his mouth
Mm-hmm.
to cuss the fella. But in the movement, the mic moved with it. And it caused a lot of laughter. But that individual was not able to win. People didn't take him serious. But Grenadians took the prime minister seriously and he encouraged obscenities. And then even in an alien land, he went again and said, pardon his French. And he made use of objectionable language. Language that you could be charged for in Grenada.
Language that people has been charged or still being charged for.
Then how do we deal with the lies that the prime minister tells so easily? One would call him almost now a pathological liar. How do this thing has never that level, the regularity, the ease, the prime minister tell lies. This has never taken place in our country.
Yeah, but what worries me, senior, about the lies spewed by the prime minister is the intention. The intention is to deceive people. Sometimes in jest you could tell an untruth, but his untruth is systematic and is intended to deceive people. So, to me, he's a deceiver. It's sad. During the election campaign, when he incited the crowd, the story was told that a gentleman had his young daughter with him, and even the daughter recognized it was not right to do. When daddy really see what the prime minister now incited them to do, they say the child pulled daddy hand and said, Daddy, no. So even the little child knew it was not right. But it all goes back to the antecedents of the Prime Minister, you know, when he could comfortably say morality is a private thing,
Yes.
when he could comfortably call people hungry mouth and beggy, when he could comfortably say the government had power and they didn't know how to use it. So when you hear utterances of that, you know the individual knows fully well what he's doing and is not excused. But we took those things for granted at our own peril. Because when he was sold with deep pockets and connection, nobody questioned what that meant.
Nobody question.
When he incited the crowd to curse, nobody said, nah, we don't accustomed to that. And the latest fiasco, senior, is simply this. And it lays into the hypocrisy of the moral commander in Grenada, the bastion of morality, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Thomas. Because a lot of song and dance was made. Even your good friend Michael Battis bring people in Munich, they say they have the smoking gun about the briefcase. You remember that fiasco?
Yeah.
And then he had the Cheltenham inquiry,
Inquiry. Yeah.
and the result we all knew, and persons who continue to say that were taken to task and they lose in court. But there was this cry about corruption and so on. So after that situation, guardrails was put in for a situation like that not to happen again.
Yeah.
And Section 7 and Section 8 of the Integrity in Public Life speaks to. And the Prime Minister, shamelessly again, boldface, say the gentleman pay for a trip or the part of the trip from London to Nigeria. And based on the integrity in public life, these things ought not to be happening. And there are guardrails, so it don't happen. It's not something that you could say you don't know, although ignorance of the law should not be an excuse. And the way he was touted as the brightest lawyer on this side of the wall, he ought to have known what he accepted tantamount to a bribe. And most times persons give you a bribe. They want something in return. So the question should be senior. What does this billionaire want in return? Because all of a sudden, the past administration was beat up on about oil. Anytime you corner one of them in a discussion about the performance of this government, they resorted to the caveat of oil and gas. So the Prime Minister has put the oil and gas debate to rest. And you're hearing the same friend who paid for part of or paid for his travels, indicating they go buy Grenadians crude. Crude is oil. It's not spicy in the mountain they're going to pick up and sell for them. It's oil. So the debate of oil and gas has taken a different turn, Mr. Pierre. What say you to that?
Well, yes, it tells you that the Prime Minister tells lies with impunity. Because after they made all these issues, they had to investigate. And they set up a commission. Is Nazim Bok that was involved in that commission they set up to investigate the issues of oil and gas. And he remained quiet on it. But now I don't know if it's because the pressure was put on him for traveling to Rwanda in an area where he ought not to go. Definitely, the Prime Minister should not be going to Rwanda. There is a communique out because of the Marburg disease that is very infectious, not very contagious, because very infectious, because they claim that 88% of the people are affected, likely to die. And there was about 19 health workers that got sick.
Just to interject, senior. You remember COVID here? What was the actions of this prime minister and his close associates?
Well, they were doing everything to sabotage the government restrictions on COVID. In fact, they were going on inside jab to play jab,
They
defy the other.
they pay people see them paying the job.
Well, the ex-prime minister was paying the job. And agents of the NDC, top agents of the NDC, went around distributing placards. They did everything possible because government was decided that we cannot have carnival because for health conditions. During World War II, there was no carnival in Trinidad, no carnival in Grenada. Say World War. And for health reasons, the government, on the recommendation of the World Health Organization, PAHO, CAFA, and our health personnel here, recommendation. And the opposition, I have not seen any opposition openly took vaccine.
Well, that might trend that thought. I have
None
not
of them
seen them publicly.
take vaccine. So they was not encouraging people to take vaccine. I knew some of them took because they traveled. They took it in secret. I knew some of the trade union leaders took because they traveled. But publicly, they was encouraging Grenadians not to take vaccine and defy.
And what is sad, in recent days we have this big debate about amplified songs. And while traveling through Grenville yesterday, someone drew it to my attention. Keep my ears open because there'll be a function in St. David's later with amplified music. So I await. And it's the same thing. When was something life saving? The present Prime Minister and his associates never came forward in support. But now, no amplified songs. And the discussion could go on the fact that we all ascribe here to be a Christian nation, senior. In so much as in official functions and activities, the prayer come forth before national anthem and others. And one of the biggest days in the Christian calendar, which is Good Friday, we doesn't see these things happen. We just have a kind of lavish party and fete and amplify music for so. So how now a day like today, which is called Heroes Day, and that in itself again is another discussion, senior.
That's another discussion.
Heroes Day, who are the heroes? That is another question for another day. But if we are a Christian nation and the biggest day in the Christian calendar is Good Friday, when the man from Galilee Bodhi sings of all of us senior, is not being reverenced. What about Heroes Day? So Heroes Day come before. But it is a pattern, Mr. Pierre. It's a pattern, senior. When the Prime Minister dabbled into the occult and called down the spirit of Maurice Bishop, we knew we were in for trouble. Because that is not something that is good for our nation, senior. And he did that with impunity, without remorse. And he still is one who is not repentant. You know.
The Prime Minister may not be a religious man, you know. I don't.
But they bring him to church.
Yes, but the ease with which he used the church. You had church-going Christians present when the prime minister dabbled in their cult. When somebody died, you people pray, may their soul rest in peace. Particularly a soul as traumatized as Maurice Bishop. Maurice Bishop died under very traumatic circumstances.
Yeah.
Maurice Bishop hid behind the women and children like a coward. Maurice Bishop was aware that he evoked the Angola option and he expected bloodshed. Yet, he did nothing to advise the women. This now is time to go.
And speaking of the Angolan option, Mr. Pierre, you recognize the Angolan option would have bloodshed either way.
Well, Maurice Bishop was aware of that. He evoked the Angola option. But while he did that, he was prepared to use the school children and women to bury him. All Maurice Bishop's life, he hid behind women and children. Now, these are the things that we must not ignore. We must not ignore. If an individual is going to hide behind his children and his wife when danger comes, that's a bad sign. If a young man walking with a girl and somebody attack the girl and the young man run, that girl not supposed to care about that young man anymore. This is what Maurice Bishop did all his life. Yet we ignore it. On the day Maurice Bishop died, Maurice Bishop had an option. Preparation was made for him to speak in the market. He refused to go in the market. He went on the foot. And while he was on the foot, he was rearming his team. They took guns from people. They called, we want 200 people to go with a car with guns to reestablish communication with the rest of the world. By the time they say that car with gun, who take gun, they went to the telecommunication place to reestablish communication with the world. They took guns from people on the foot who they believe was not in their camp. So they was establishing themselves. They made an announcement. Bernard Code, Ewart Lane, Liam James, I can't remember all the names they called. Maybe 8 or 9 persons. Report to the nearest police station. So it means that it was preparing for war. But even at that time, Maurice Bishop was prepared to cloak himself in the room with the women and children.
And even that time, senior, when you get information that he himself would have said the revolution will continue, but without X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So you knew anyway either have some bloodshed.
See, at one time in the 70s, when they were demonstrating, they had a whole group of children because Maurice Bishop never go in a demonstration if there was not children. They send the trucks in the schools to collect children. It was an exciting period of time. And they was using so much obscenities, particularly when they was singing the song, and I would not try to sing. Belma, where are you? Gary, where are you? Gary, where are you? Their song say, Adam in the garden hiding.
Yeah.
So that song, but they substitute the name Gary. And they were saying in Monroy, but the obscenities that they was using to say what he doing, a woman say, oh God, we are children with us. One woman that demonstrating with them, she checked herself and she appealed to them, oh God, we are children with us. So Morris Bishop used the children. He didn't hesitate to encourage the most objectionable language among the children.
The same pattern this Prime Minister
We
adopted.
never pay heed to that.
Yeah.
We never pay heed to that. Morris Bishop locked up over 3,000 Grenadians. People from the so-called petty bourgeoisie, people from the proletariats, Dayrights and etc. And PRA, who wore PRA, like Kennedy Boodlall and them,
Yeah.
because they were. And the public did not take that. We ignore that.
Yeah. We take it as something normal.
Particularly people in the diaspora. They would tell you, well, why you expect is a revolution? Look at how they treated the Rastafarians. But the classic is the people from Montreal area. They passed on with a mic the evening before and say, come and hear what in store,
You can't hear the plans.
what the plans for you. Because the people in Montreal was so reduced to scrap because they saw so much of their comrades, the members of the family, arrested and brutalized, and a couple died, that they thought the revolution was coming to give them hope. A lot of young ones settled in the community center. And while the people outside was observing, they realized PRA with gun was creeping to the windows and an IFA truck was reversing back to the front. So the people outside of the community center realized what was going on. That day was described as the day Montreal turned a cemetery. There was so much of weeping and wailing and bawling outside that the song reached the community center. And when the people in the community center heard this bawling, they get up. And that is when the commandant or the commander, whoever in charge, put out his list, ordered them to sit and start calling out names. Some statistics say, some rumors, you don't know exactly what is the number, but they claim 125 of them was arrested that day.
So, senior, somebody say, Mr. Pierre have to say what? Mr. Pierre have to say he was part of it when he was in SAS. He was part of anything when he was in SAS?
Well, I was a student in SAS. I was always involved in the politics. You know, I was a student in SAS and I was always articulate. In those days, I used to argue against reparation. I never believed in reparation because the black man sold slaves. And I used to argue against freedom. We want our freedom of expression. And at that time, we was arguing against some of the actions of Bishop. And I always tell people, you must not ignore signs. Nobody don't wake up one morning and turn criminal.
Nope.
Your son don't wake up one morning and turn thief. The boy is thieving in the house.
And most time you cover for him.
You cover for him.
On the Montreal issue, senior, there's reports that you have one individual in particular who never returned.
They say one never come back. But the people in Montreal never too quick to give you information.
Yep.
And so much of them went to prison. And so much of them left the country that no one made any specific attempt to go and do deep research into Montreal. But Montreal, still all the areas there. And then Tivoli. There was one instance where a young man in the shop and one of the NWO, his age group too, stopped and asked them to attend a meeting.
Mm.
And he said, we're not attending any meeting because you're all locking up too much people in Tivoli and conference. And the reaction from the girl, you're going to hear from me. Well, she went and nobody bothered. But the message reached his mother. That was a Sunday evening. When he woke up Monday morning, a vehicle was in the yard. And the mother said, you're going to Trinidad. He said, I'm not going in Trinidad. The mother said, you hear what the girl said? You know what that means? And they put him in the dicky of the vehicle to go and hide him. To get on the boat Tuesday morning.
So he goes stowaway.
For Trinidad. In those days, every week, Grenada going on.
Yes, stowaway, very true.
Stowaway. And it went, maybe the girl might not have done anything. Maybe she might have. But the fear then of heavy manners. We must never ignore the signs and signals.
But you raise a serious discussion there, you know, senior. Heavy manners.
Heavy manners was a dangerous word.
But we see in heavy manners now.
Well, this discussion is pertinent because it appears it's like what is going on now is a replay.
How do you call it? Deja vu.
Of course. It's a replay of what's going on before. Deacon flaunt the law with impunity.
Yep.
Deacon know that in 1973, the laws was passed to close the door for corruption in the GDB Bank.
Yes.
To prevent ministers and directors taking loan. Deacon is a liar. Deacon flaunt the law with impunity. And so many Grenadians shut him out. And he used the money in the bank for the purpose of bribery. The fact that he let directors and ministers get loan in the bank, flaunt the law. And I am disturbed that so much Grenadians accept that, including the Chamber of Commerce, the Bar Association, and the Trade Union. He flaunt the law with impunity to open the door for corruption. These are dangerous warning signs.
Yeah.
Look at the fact that Deacon decided, you have to be him, that members of the top echelons of the NDC could be agents to sell passports.
Yep.
This is a serious conflict of interest. The question is, who is going to guard the guards? Who? Where are we going to put check and balance? If the Prime Minister is selling passport and the Attorney General is selling passport, not the Attorney General, the Minister of Finance, and one of the ex-leaders who vehemently speak out against the sale of passport is now selling passport. These individuals spoke with forked tongue. Not even the ex-leader of FRAC objecting to that. If it's one man that should object Grenada, he wrote a book, Walk the Straight and Narrow. And I had great respect for him. Not even him is objecting to the fact that senior members of the government are selling passports. Now, within your ranks, when you are so blatantly corrupt, you cannot have a government. This government has opened the door to corruption. And Grenadians, particularly the individuals who was behaving like turkey cock with morality, accountability, and good governance around the neck like a gallad. They swallow the tongue. I have not heard Willie publicly cry out on that. There should be a cry. A cry should come out from these individuals that all of us should hear. I have not heard the ex-individual in frock, that is Richard Duncan, was in charge of frock. I have not heard the trade union leaders, particularly TUC president. I've not heard him speak on it. There should be a cry from the bowels of these organizations. I've not heard the Bar Association. Well, the Bar Association is one of the most unscrupulous organizations in our country. They are our best legal minds. And people set a lot of store on what they think. And they themselves, remember, they were objecting to some bill the previous government passed, because I don't think the government continued with the bill because there was not sufficient consultation with them. And at one time, they was objecting to a lawyer not having the post of Attorney General. That is when I think Gregory Bowen acted in the post.
Yeah.
Although the law does not say you have to be a lawyer to hold the post of Attorney General. When we had the referendum, and that was so express, the lawyer shut them up. I think this is the most unscrupulous bunch. When Bernard Code and Maurice Bishop had an impasse on the foot, and when Vince Noel came out with a communique and said that Bernard Code, Ewart Lane, Liam James, whoever, I can't remember all the names, must go to the nearest police station. That was an ultimatum. No more negotiation.
Yeah.
No one in Grenada, no organization called and say, let us mediate for you. And at that time, I believe both sides was hoping and praying. Well, they didn't pray. No one of them don't believe in God then. They was hoping that somebody could have intervened. The Bar Association, the Bar Association is about 100 years, I believe. And because they are the best legal minds, there's no one in it. The trade union was contaminated. Only one trade union group that was not controlled by the revolution. That is the Public Workers Union. One. I even thought then that Gloria Payne Banfield and Miss the other permanent secretary, I always forget her name. I say, well, them should have called.
Call on.
Call and say, let us negotiate. Don't kill one another.
Okay.
Because at that time, a few of us was discussing this issue. Who could intervene to stop the carnage?
Yeah.
No one could call. We are putting ourselves in the very position again, where individuals that walk around and you had the tendency to gravitate to them as moderators, as people who uphold morality.
But senior, until and unless the full story is not being told around the activities surrounding the 19th and 25th of October, we will forever be in limbo.
Well, a lot of people want this story to see. You notice in all this story, we don't hear some of the atrocities that was done to women yet.
No.
So, you see, Maurice Bishop, they accuse Maurice Bishop of being a petty bourgeois and a womanizer and lazy. But almost all the PRA wanted to be a womanizer, like Bishop.
Yeah.
One of the common word then was Pierre mattress.
Yes.
No, we could walk away. If you don't pay attention to the past, you're doomed to repeat it.
You make the
And
same mistake.
today, we are repeating it. I think Grenadians ought to be discussing now who is blackmailing the community and what cost,
Just before
what
you
price we're going to pay.
just before you go senior, in terms of heroes, I just want to speak. You think they will name Pierre as heroes?
Well, is Bishop, as I said, I think in a previous program, is Deacon's story, and is that. So Deacon don't meddle with no committee. Remember, he set up marketing board, and the board make recommendation, and Deacon make up his mind long. And I said, this consultation that you're having is a sham. Man asked me if I would go to it. I said, no, I will not waste my time. Deacon would not pay attention to the consultation. He wants the demise of marketing board as an act of vengeance. Marketing board won Deacon in court. And as a result of that, it was an act of vengeance. So although he set up a board and the board come with recommendations, how we could revive, how we could salvage marketing board, he wanted none of it. So he deceived the public. He gave the people the impression that he was genuinely seeking answers. No. He came with a preconceived position that marketing board have to go.
So the question is, senior, would the hospital end up in the same way?
Well, I think they want Grenadians should discuss that and be concerned.
Because it's signs we can
Because
them at our
we
own
are going
peril.
to pay the price.
Yeah.
We're going to pay the price. I think it's TUC Kawana that like to say you go feel it in your belly. We have too much of Grenadians. They don't even want to discuss this issue, If you notice those on Facebook that taking you on, they fine low blow. But we must discuss this issue because we could well be the laughing stock in the Caribbean. A few people come and steal a political party, and they are not genuine. Look at the fact, as we say, the warning sign. One of the first criminal act that was committed by Deacon is to remove $150 from the elderly. They physically challenged, and $75 to $100 from disadvantaged children. And look at the manner in which he deceived them. He quoted the World Bank when he promised them $650. He referenced the World Bank to strengthen his argument.
Yes.
And immediately, you have a call on the line? Immediately, what he did was to remove $150 from the elderly, and the sun was hot when they shed tears. And instead of some of these people, including Mr. Tillman Thomas, telling him, don't do that, they said silence.
Yeah.
When in 2008, 2013, when NDC did that, one girl in St. Patrick's who used to walk with a white stick, she appealed to Tillman Thomas. And then he put her back. And she hugged him and kissed him in the street. She thanked him. She hugged him and kissed him in the street. When this government come, they take out again. They take out again.
Mm-hmm. So she had nobody to go to now.
But who should you go to now?
You should still go back to him.
No, we cannot ignore the signs.
No, we can't.
We have St. Jude. All of a sudden now, he swallow his tongue. And I believe we must not ignore warning sign. It's like a woman ignoring her son. The neighbors say your son have knife going to school. You cussing your neighbor. The neighbors say your daughter going to school with a change of clothes. That is a dangerous warning sign. You're saying they're jealous of that. That's not what parents say. They're jealous of you, they're jealous of that. Next thing you see your daughter with big expensive phone. Where you go ask her to get one gear too.
Yeah.
We in Grenada must not ignore the warning signs. If we do that, we have to prepare to stand the consequences. There was a lot of warning signs. Mr. Forrester, he's well qualified to be an ambassador for the diaspora, but not for raising fund for NDC.
For NDC, that's the difference.
That's corruption. If he's an ambassador for the diaspora, he is not an ambassador for party. Yes, he is selected by the party. Yes, he is going to incline to his party. Yes, he is going to try to raise funds for his party. But it must not appear, it must not seem that that is his responsibility. And he is doing a show directly for the NDC.
Yeah.
Well, how could you be ambassador for the diaspora? You're an ambassador for NDC in foreign.
Yeah, conflict. It don't make any sense.
This is corruption.
One thing, senior, this present government seems not to be able to separate government from party.
They can separate corruption from honesty. That is why deacons say morality is a private thing. How could an individual who leads you describe morality as private? How you call the big entertainer in the United States now that they in our country, or Didi, or what you call it?
PDD.
He have private room all downstairs his house. So all who was there in private, they shame to talk now.
Yeah.
Running RG and all sorts of issues. How Deacon could say morality is a private thing and Grenadians quietly watching him. That's a warning sign. Now look at the fact that Deacon has emasculated the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And people seems not to be concerned. Your Minister of Foreign Affairs is the one that's responsible for doing the most traveling. He was around when Henry Kissinger was flying in Lebanon and in Middle East. In those days, he's staying on a plane while he tried to put peace. Well, today, the Prime Minister has taken back the job from the Minister of Finance. So the Minister of Finance, Minister of Foreign Affairs, not Finance, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, that is Mr. Joseph Andal, is getting money under false pretense because he is not acting as Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's receiving money under false pretense. Then how you expect the public officer to be productive when they observe that you open the door to corruption wide?
I just want to, you see, they say ignore thing at your peril. You realize in recent times, we speak to a lot about our Tillman Thomas. We realize Tillman Thomas is part of the whole thing too. You realize they have, against the Constitution, it seems that they appoint him as the Deputy Governor General. So when you speak to one and people say, well, what Mr. Tillman Thomas saying, He's part of the whole setup.
The guys are corrupt. The NDC is the most corrupt group of people in any political party, but this NDC is the most corrupt in the Caribbean. I've never heard about any political party in the Caribbean more corrupt than NDC. I've never heard about it. Now look at the Attorney General. The Attorney General, Minister of Labor, and Minister of Legal Affairs is one person.
Mm-hmm.
The Attorney General is supposed to be the main advisor to the government.
Yeah.
The Attorney General have an advisor. So the advisor have an advisor.
It is interesting to know the view of the Prime Minister of the competence of the Attorney General.
I don't think he respects her. For somehow, I think he treats her with disdain. But somebody, I don't know if what happened, but she have to hang along. I don't know, maybe she was not a very successful lawyer and she broke into, so she beggy.
What is she claim to fame?
Yeah. But somehow or the other, it doesn't seem that she is one of the people in the main cabinet.
She's not from the inner circle.
She's not from the inner circle. I see how she was gravitating towards what was the young group NDC have again?
Youth for Change.
Youth for Change. I noticed how she was gravitating to Youth for Change and looking for attention. She was jumping up with her foot in the air and firing imaginary shot. Shoot Babylon, Bobo. It was an unspeakable act. You are a woman.
From the legal advisor to government.
Uncalled for. In addition, that you is a woman, not a teenager. She's a lawyer, good among the years.
Yeah.
So you expect a
certain
level of decorum and quality. She was behaving as if almost jumping up in her body. And she wanted to draw attention to these wayward dance hall artists. Ron and Tev, as if them is dance hall artists.
And then you say, at our peril if we don't take notice. And around the same time, we had this rising gun crimes here.
Well, what she did act as a catalyst. The police must be shocked. Your Attorney General is firing imaginary gun and saying, shoot Babylon, Bobo. Jamaica police don't joke with that, you know. If you call the police Babylon in Jamaica and nobody watching, they're killing you. If nobody don't watching, the police in Jamaica shooting you. The Attorney General incited and encouraged by her action act as a catalyst. Well, look at the Prime Minister. Weed is illegal.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister promised to legalize weed. The Prime Minister don't legalize weed yet, you know. The Prime Minister gone in a private citizen yard.
And taking out Peter with the hall.
And making movie with the herb.
In the presence of the police.
He diluted, the Prime Minister diluted
the authority of
the
the
significance police. And the authority of the police. And I even understand the individual is also somebody of interest to the police.
Mm-hmm.
So you shame the police, you dilute the significance. And look at the rippling and multiplying effect. Tevin in Carriacou, disrespecting the police in public. The sister in Guam, defying and disrespecting the police. And these people had to recognize that the police in Grenada have such good reputation in the Caribbean, and they're so tolerant. The ministers don't go and put down your police. We in Grenada have to be careful. We're going to stand the consequences we're going to pay the price if we ignore the signals at our own peril. But look at noise. The Prime Minister decide that nobody must make noise except him. So they have an activity in Paradise, in Progress Park, with amplified music. But they said nobody else must have. We didn't say that 3 months ago.
Yeah, but you remember in St. Lucia, you say some people had power and they didn't know how to use it.
Yes, so you want to show
how he could, you know.
Now you have what they call it, jab, capital jab. Capital jab. And I want politicians to understand, you know. I hear politicians say they are crowd and they're popular. Capital jab bring out about 10,000 people on the airport before Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
They say the only crowd that seems or appear or look slightly bigger is when NNP go on the airport.
Yep.
The police and all panic, you know. The police fire gun in the air. The only thing is the airport is an exit.
Yeah.
Anywhere you run is an exit.
Yeah.
If it was in a more enclosed
area,
place,
you'd have stampede.
You would have stampede. When I see that crowd, I say, politician, these are young people, you know. If you say you're popular and you're influential, you might have to go and ask capital jab
to help you.
Because during that time, about 3 other jab in St. Andrews had celebration too, you know. We cannot ignore these things. While you're running them out and you're talking, all your children praying for you to dead sometime. You know. Like one children say, why are them old 2 men and them running them out? You have all kind of organized thing, capital jab bring out 10,000 people or more. I appeal to the police. You have to understand the word stampede. You have to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Because if that crowd was anywhere else where there was not
enclosed
unlimited exit,
yeah.
Because anywhere you move, and individuals was pelting bottles.
Yes. So you just move to where you're facing.
So the police have to prepare to come with shield and dress in a manner that they don't have to fire gun and stampede.
Yep.
And sometimes 1 or 2 police have to play jab too.
Yeah.
So they're there in the crowd.
To infiltrate the job.
To infiltrate the job. So if we ignore the signs and signal, then this prime minister, we have said, is a vulture. Because you cannot prey on the weak.
And that is definitely the plan.
The prime minister preys on the weak. Look at the manner he treats the Imanis. They can squeak, you know, because they don't know if they go fire them tomorrow. The prime minister lie without compunction. And I pray and ask Grenadians, what is your position on the 100-house unit in Carriacou? These houses was built for people in the lower income group. Everybody know that. People put their pot on the fire that they will get a house. The government chastised the NDC under Dick Mitchell, chastised the NNP for not giving the houses quick and accused them of being criminals. Now the NDC take the house for people in the diaspora.
Maybe Nigerians may have house there too. You know?
Well, the way the Prime Minister lying, you can't believe in doing it. So we appeal to Grenadians. You see what happened in 1983. It could happen again. This group of people seems to be waking up all those sleeper cells. Those that was there playing snake in the grass, feeling in third sleep, smiling and waiting. And we have a number of Grenadians that are 80s. They wouldn't come out openly. They are sleeper cells. They are snake in the grass. They don't believe in God story. And that happens where you have a lot of Marxist-Leninism ideology. Because they claim religion is they don't have any significance in religion. So Grenada is an interesting country. Remember, it's like milk on fire. Mr. Blaze say it's like milk on fire. You're watching it, you're watching it, you're watching it.
As you
That's
turn
as
your
you
back,
turn back.
boil over.
George Brizan say it
Island
is
of
the island
conflict.
of conflict.
What the Americans say?
The Americans say it's a false scam. And Grenadians seems to have been tricked by Deacon Mitchell. And now we must ask and be concerned that this Prime Minister of ours, his head is not, he's not in charge of his head. Somebody must have Deacon head in the pocket. When you sit down and you follow all the signs and signals, there is strong evidence to come to the conclusion that the Prime Minister of Grenada is being bribed. We strongly suspect there is a third party directing our foreign affairs.
Running the country.
We see the emasculation of the foreign minister. Perhaps he is the most disappointing individual that ever run for election in St. Patrick's. We must not ignore the signs and signals, the evidence that come in front of us. Otherwise, we will be doing it at our own peril. Remember, your son didn't get bad, you know. Your son don't wake up one morning and just get bad, you know. The evidence was in your home. He was going to school with knife. You know it. When he go and he pick up mango, he's sucking. All you see is wrong, his mouth dirty. You're not sharing. You're not giving one another. Your daughter didn't wake up and get bad. So we appeal. And when we speak here, it's to provoke discussion. We like challenge, you know. We want you to take us on. Prove to us, with all this empirical evidence we advance, that Deacon Mitchell is not being bribed. Share our program. Share Studio Galaxy and subscribe to our program. And let us continue the discussion. And we want to thank our technical operators. We have two young people here. I won't surprise they get fed up with us already. But we want to thank them for the assistance. Thank you. And we have an opportunity to give them some history. Thank you very much.